2, 1.
Alrighty, apologies for that. I had a slight technical issue, but anyways, welcome back to Horrible Games 2022. Thank you all so much for joining us. We are raising money To Write Love on Our Arms, and we have got a run of Metal Gear Survive New Game Plus Bad Ending with NickRPGreen. Nick, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Yes, I am NickRPGreen, and I am running this absolute monstrosity of a game, Metal Gear Survive. There is kind of a horror element to it because it has got zombies in it, but it's much more on the horrible side of the horrible games spectrum. To help talk about it, I've brought along two commentators if they'd like to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Plywood. I helped route this category and other categories in this wonderful game. I am a distinguished guilty pleasure enjoyer of Metal Gear Survive, and I have a sense of deja vu.
I'm just Cronola. I have not done a speedrun of this game, but I have been brought in, I suppose, as an expert on the plot and characters.
So the category that we're doing is called New Game Plus Bad Ending. It's bad ending because we go for the bad ending, obviously. It's New Game Plus because we're going to create a new character. However, we are going to still have access to all of the weapons, materials, and stuff of my previous character. So that's kind of how we do the speedrun. I have one character who kind of sets everything up and plays through the game, and I have another character who I keep sort of recycling to do the speedrun with. I've been told we're quite far ahead of schedule, so we're going to kind of try and sort of explain how Survive fits into the rest of Metal Gear. The answer is it doesn't. It really doesn't fit in with the rest of Metal Gear, but it kind of tries to. You can see the messages that are on the screen now about it picks up directly where Ground Zeroes, if you've ever played Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, picks up exactly where that left off, and it's kind of set in between Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain, but then it's kind
complicated.
It's a little more complicated than that, but yes.
As you can see, it does say a pseudo-historical description. So this is Mother Base from Ground Zeroes, although you never actually went to Mother Base in Ground Zeroes. Basically, the story of Ground Zeroes is Snake goes to this facility to rescue some hostages. When he returns to Mother Base, he finds that Mother Base is being attacked by XOF forces. There's a huge battle, and XOF destroy Mother Base, and Snake and the helicopter he was in is destroyed, but he's salvaged, rescued, and he slips into a coma for 9 years, I think it is. And that then goes into the plot of Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. Meanwhile, back at Mother Base, this happens. Apparently.
Yes, the off-screen, during Ground Zeroes, something very spectacular happens. This game has very little to do with Phantom Pain, but it does link itself into the Phantom Pain. I'd say it has more to do in a very weird way, the entire Metal Gear continuity. But we'll get into that. It's a real hoot as we get later on.
I think we can probably skip this first cutscene. Oh, and there'll be another cutscene that will kind of explain it a bit better. I believe that the character choice was female, so thank you to everyone who donated. So we're going to go with a female character. And can I get a name in chat? The first name that I see from someone in chat is going to be the name of our character today. There'll obviously be a slight bit of delay. Blurple. I see the name Blurple. Blurple is going to be the name of our character today. Thank you, Dangerous, for Blurple. There we go.
Beautiful name for a beautiful woman.
You're very welcome.
And then
Now,
we're also
can
gonna...
you dye the hair blue or purple? That's the next question.
That's a good question. We'll find out. So there we go. There's Blurple on the
There's
list.
Blurple. That's us right there. We're in the combat unit, but we're not missing. What happened to Blurple?
You'll also
Why would
notice
Big Boss give you that name?
You'll also notice that we're playing in Japanese. That is because there's a couple of, not so much cutscenes, but there's a couple of bits of dialogue in the game that we can't skip, and it's faster in Japanese than it is in English. Yes, we are in a coffin. And then this happens.
And then
I said,
this is our BFF, Seth. He's our war buddy. He's got a nice haircut. And their base is getting attacked.
I think that was Miller.
That was Miller.
split second
You'll
cameo.
You'll see, like, Venom Snake for, like... No, not Venom Snake. Big Boss for, like, 5 seconds. Spoilers.
I think you see them looking at the wormholes, and then they're just like, "We got to get out of here."
We gotta leave. I don't know what this is, but we
Okay,
gotta
there
leave.
he is.
Yeah, I think this-
It is a Metal Gear game. It is.
Yeah.
We promise.
Yeah, I
We
believe
win.
that was literally cut from Ground Zeroes. Like, this whole cutscene is...
Yeah,
Being
yeah.
ground
This is
zeroes at the
actually, this is actually, if I remember correctly, this isn't in-engine. This is just a video file.
Ooh, that's gonna leave a mark. If only they had a medic.
Nah, don't worry about it.
Whilst we're watching this for the chat, I am going to need a number between 1 and 28 soon. So if someone wants to suggest a number between 1 and 28. Haha, 69's in chat. It's funny because it's that number. 27, I see. So we'll go with number 27.
That's us. Apparently in a coffin. Supposedly maybe dead.
I can't believe the game's over already.
That's the bad ending, everyone. Bad
Can
ending.
you survive landing in the water in a coffin? Stay tuned. Who's that guy? Oh, don't worry, we'll meet him later. This is me. You may be wondering how I got into this situation. All right.
All right. So the number that was picked was 27. So we are going to go to the model.
Can we
number
see
27.
if we can dye that hair blue
can
or
we,
purple
Can we make that
hair
blue?
color? My word.
We can
No,
go red. That's probably the closest. So we'll at least make it red.
Unfortunately, this game's customization leaves a lot to be desired.
Indeed. Armor. Once we're in the game, armor you can make so many different colors. But let's actually get towards the start of the run, shall we? So whilst we haven't really seen it in the cutscenes, as we were going to hopefully show, wormholes appear and suck everyone into a different dimension. That's what this was all leading to. Okay. For the timer, the timer is going to start the moment I accept skipping the next cutscene. because we are then actually going to take control of our avatar, of Captain or Blurple, and then the game will start. So, ready on the timer. We are starting in 3, 2, 1, starts.
Good luck.
Welcome to Dite.
Yeah, so we crash land in this bizarre land where remnants of Ground Zeroes are apparently at. We're being talked to by a character named Good Luck, who is guiding us to a base camp. We're hungry, we're thirsty, we're weak, we have no goods on us. Once we get to camp, we'll be getting some nice equipment, but right now the start of the run is exactly the same whether you're playing New Game or New Game Plus. So we have nothing, and we are just trying to control our stamina as we go through this warehouse area. What we got here are Wanderers. They are the generic enemy of this game, somewhat zombie-like. There's different varieties, but this is the enemy we'll be seeing the most. Even though they look a little bit goofy with the crystal on their head, they are actually pretty dangerous, especially at the life we're at. A few hits from them will kill us, so not something to be trifled with. And we're gonna meet an ally. What is the ally's name again?
Reeve.
Yeah, Reeve. We got Reeve.
He's a member of XOF.
Yeah, we had a gun. Now we don't have a gun. Now we have a spear that we made out of some steel and tape. Some rags. So, drop down this hole. And this whole intro area is about knowing where these tutorials are and managing your stamina. You open the door in this game and you're picking a lock, just like in Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain. You mash the button repeatedly to open it faster. And then we break down these walls with our spear. That punch on the Wanderer there to stun him as we take down the barrier. And then use a nice little trick of opening or getting ready the spear to get some speed as we climb the stairs. All we gotta do now is climb the ladder, and that is the opening level of Metal Gear Survive.
Woo!
Very nice. So we should explain what the stamina system really is, because it functions as the main core aspect of speedrunning this game. If you've watched runs of Metal Gear Solid 5, Ground Zeroes, or Phantom Pain, you just sprint. You're just constantly running. There's no stamina mechanic. You can just keep on going and going and going. Not so in Survive. We have a stamina meter which functions as our thirst meter, and then our food increases our health. Now, you want to be running most of the time, but we don't want to be running under the number 900. Otherwise, we will be running weakly. It's like you'll start kind of, I don't know, it's like an exhausted run, and it's slower than walking. So part of like making the lines as clean as possible in this game is maintaining good math in terms of when to walk, when to sprint, stuff like diving that consumes stamina. We'll get into all the little specifics as we go along, but even though a good chunk of this game is not really speedrunning, spoilers, the parts where we are speedrunning, there's actually a fair bit to be mindful of and maintain, particularly with your inventory.
So this whole section is one of the bits. This is the main reason this section that we play the game in Japanese, because this whole tutorial isn't skippable. We just have to listen about opening the map and going and finding resources. We have to manage food and water and stuff like that. So luckily, because this is a New Game Plus run, I already have all the food and water I need in my repository. We don't have to worry about that. So yeah, we just sit through this bit of dialogue. Though, Disconnect, do you want to explain who's talking to us?
The character that's talking to you right now, or probably should say characters, is Virgil 89, I believe. They're the pod thing. There's two of them. There's the red one and the blue one. They tell you they don't know why there's two of them. There's just supposed to be one. But as the plot goes on, you'll find out why that's happened.
Yeah, and I think you save, I forgot, it's very minor, but you save like a second by playing Japanese in this level, and then later on we'll also save another second. But I also find the Japanese voice acting a lot less annoying compared to English. I don't quite care for Virgil in English personally. So now, after having the stuff relevant in our repository, rather than going and harvesting it, what Nick is doing now is getting the relevant food, water, doing his loadout. So now he is geared up as well as he can be for this run. Now, there is higher level gear than what Nick is equipping. The problem is you need to be a higher level than level 1. So we can have rare, that's blue equipment, but we can't have anything higher than that. We can't have the purple equipment, and we can't have the gold equipment. But needless to say, having this equipment at the start is a huge boon to our success. So we get our equipment, we get our ammo, and we're off to get our first memory board. We have to retrieve several of these memory boards for Virgil. Basically, just I think the easiest way to think of them is like a hard drive or something. Information. So we're gonna go up this hill, and what Nick's going to do is a warning shot strat to start moving the wanderers in a certain direction. That way, they're moving away from our goal, which is this door, and we can get the memory board as quickly as possible. So it's just a nice little way to herd them around.
And then at the end of a
Yeah,
lot of these missions, you'll see me going back to the menu and going return to base camp. In the normal game, you wouldn't do that because you don't get to keep all of your materials and stuff that you've acquired. But we don't need that because we already have all of that stuff.
Yeah, it cuts down on a lot of running around when you return to base camp. So once we get whatever thing we need, we try to always return to base camp unless there's some sort of goal, like we need to bring something to transporter, so on and so forth. But it cuts down a lot of the running, and a lot of what you do in this run is running around. So now we need to get three more memory boards. We're gonna get a air tank off of this corpse, get this memory board, and then go get another one.
This time I'm not going to use the menu to return to base camp. It's quicker to run to the next one.
Yep, we're just gonna hug this wall and run along the wall here. If you've played the Phantom Pain, some of these maps may be familiar to you because they took maps from the Phantom Pain and reused them for this game, but they are going to be somewhat different, and we'll see more of that later on.
Speaking on that, I have a confession. I have played more of this game than the Phantom Pain, so whenever I watch people play the Phantom Pain and I see those areas, my first thought is, that's the area from Survive.
Yeah, I also have a confession. I've also played more of this game than Phantom Pain, so I'm right there with you. So here, we need to take out these two wanderers on the roof. and then Nick is going to deliberately walk towards this memory board. If you run to that memory board, the enemies outside will still know where you are, as they have like eagle ear hearing, and they'll still hear what you're doing, so that's no good. So this is actually, this craft right here has gone through a lot of revisions in terms of what you do in what order here, and our friend Nick here actually figured out the fastest variant of all of them.
Completely by accident.
Completely by accident, but you know, we're thankful for it. So if you talk to Virgil first and then do your builds, you're going to get additional cutscenes and potentially tutorials. So it's better to do your builds first, then it transports you back to Virgil, and then you talk to Virgil. So it's a nice little time save. I think like the fastest variant versus the longest variant, it's quite a lot. It's like 20 seconds or something excessive like that. So it's a nice little time save to cut out on some tutorials.
Right, so we are now entering the dust.
Yeah, so the dust is just a thick layer of blank. We'll talk about what it is later, but it really hurts our ability to maintain stamina. So we have clean air and dirty air, and in dirty air, our stamina meter drains much more quickly, and actions like jumping take like 500 stamina. So it's pretty serious. Thankfully, all we got to do here is jump down a cliff, enter a window. We don't have to really do anything fancy like warning shots or distractions or anything like that. We basically just go straight for the HUD and go through the window. DUST, like breathing in some dust when you're cleaning your room. That kind of dust.
The dust.
The MS-DOS. The MS-DOS is really thick around here. All right, so up next, by the way, a lot of the speedrun stuff happens early on in the run, so you're going to hear a lot of this. But next thing we're going to do is open our first transporter. And the transporters are a way for us to travel around the area. But in order to open a transporter, we have to activate it, and that takes some time. And while it's activating, we're going to have to defend our transporter against some of the ghoulies, the wanderers. And they can destroy the transporter, which is not something we want.
Over the top of this hill, it's just down there.
Anytime you see a blue light, you will be going towards a transporter. Now, Nick goofed a little bit there. You never want to completely drain your stamina, because if you do, you completely get exhausted and you get stuck in place. So that's why walking when you hit 900 is really important, because otherwise you might end up being like, oh, I gotta take a break. I mean, can't be having that. No breaks. There's absolutely no breaks in this run.
Except for now, as you can see, we've got a timer on the right hand side of 2 minutes.
What are you talking about? You're not waiting, you're defending.
Defending. The thing with the equipment in this run in New Game Plus is, at this point in a normal run, there is no way you would have a gun. Like that pipe that we had
Absolutely
earlier,
not.
you'd probably just still have that pipe. So New Game Plus is very broken in that the game almost plays itself in certain parts. There are a couple of sketchy areas.
Yeah, you can't like completely sleep on this run, but I mean, what you're seeing Nick use, he's using a blue rifle with explosive rounds. So they're rounds that literally explode and create a small impact zone around the target. And that's really good for just mowing down groups because they like grouping up on each other. So I think we should start explaining a little bit about the weapons. So he has an assault rifle, he has a bow, and the bow is fantastic because when you shoot arrows, assuming they're not explosive arrows, you can go and retrieve them from whatever target you shot them in, which is great for efficiency. Nick's coming up this hill to take this crystal to get some Kuban energy. Basically, Kuban energy is essentially our experience points, but it's also currency. It doubles as both. And we want to level up. Just because we have these great weapons and great gear, that does not mean we don't want to level up. If we don't level up, our character is going to start getting out-leveled by the enemies, and level makes way more of a difference than your gear is, actually. That's why the new game run works as well as it does. Immediately get the transporter and return to base camp, and that is Chapter 4. Now in Chapter 5, we are going to be rescuing someone. And who are we rescuing, this granola?
We're going to be rescuing Miranda. She is a nurse. When we talk to her after we rescue her, obviously, she's going to tell us that she was a nurse who was working at the hospital at the start of the Phantom Pain. So that's another connection to that game there.
That's right. She just flies in through a wormhole, crash landing in a helicopter, and we are going towards that crash site right now. One thing you'll notice Nick do is at the end of defenses, like the one we just experienced, he's going to eat these stat-buffed foods. And these buffs are great for speedrunning. There's a sprint speed up, there's a stamina reduction one, and I think there's one more. If I'm recalling correctly, but that's going to save a lot of time throughout the whole run, like legitimately minutes, probably closer to like 10 minutes, just from using the buffs. Nick playing it real safe, throwing grenades here to take out the waves. Now you can rescue Miranda here without taking out those waves, but it is way more risky because when we're opening this lock, if your timing is off, they could hit you from the back. And if that happens, you can pretty much say goodbye Miranda. She's gonna get killed. The other problem is when we're carrying a POW or someone to rescue, our stamina goes even slower, or our stamina loss is even greater. So combine the dust with carrying someone in our back, it's a lot of stamina being lost. That's why Nick dropped Miranda off where he did, and didn't go all the way up the hill to activate the transporter. So since Nick threw those grenades, there's pretty much no one here. Otherwise, we'd have this huge wave of wanderers coming at us, but now it's just a nice chill defense of just kind of hanging about. So all there really is just position ourselves as close to the transporter as possible, eat some food. We can't just return to base camp because we need to bring Miranda back. So that's why Nick is just hanging out here, already pre-walking, just to start moving early. It's kind of like in GoldenEye where they will start pre-moving during a cutscene just so you don't have to accelerate. It's a nice little trick. And we have rescued Miranda. Now we have a grand total of 2 people at this camp. And now the game is going to introduce us to the mechanic of crew management, which is pretty cool. Now we can manage what each of the people on our crew do, so they can help us grow food, they can help us maintain our buildings, all kinds of stuff. We have to put someone on some sort of team Otherwise, we won't be able to continue with this chapter. It's just another tutorial, and Nick is now going to level up. So we want to hit level 5. Level 5 is what we're aiming to hit. That way we can increase our dexterity and endurance. Endurance increases our stamina. Dexterity increases our movement speed and readying speed. These are all the skills we're going to be doing throughout the whole run, is dexterity and endurance. You don't really need anything else for New Game Plus. If you're running New Game, it's a complete different story. The routing is much more complicated and a bit more personal preference, but in New Game Plus, we have such good equipment that all we really want to do is increase our speed and stamina, and it is completely worth doing that and pretty much required. I would not want to go through this whole game level 1. It sounds horrible.
Oh, for sure.
So now we're in the ruins. We're going to retrieve another memory board. Now, Nick is going in the ruins a way you're not really supposed to, but it is possible. You're supposed to go a completely different way and make your way through the whole ruins, but if you bring an iron fence, climb over that fence, you can get on this tank and then go make a shortcut throughout this whole area using gun hold up to get down those stairs efficiently. And then we're gonna blow this bomber up, and hopefully if the position's good, he'll also blow up the door.
Nope.
No. Yeah, that's why you should just throw 2 C4, because it's really unreliable.
At least the bomber didn't blow you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
the
usually
bomber can do a lot of damage if you're not careful. Also, we were supposed to be introduced to the main baddie right then and there, but because we returned to base camp, we have no idea what kind of force we're going against. But we'll be introduced to that character later. Don't you worry. Okay, so next up, we're going to get something called the Wormhole Digger. And that is going to be very key for us to continue with the story. Skrnola, what exactly is the Wormhole Digger?
The Wormhole Digger is a device that will allow us to generate, I suppose, Kubon energy, which we want to try to use to escape DT and get home. Which basically amounts to more auto-scroller levels.
Yes, absolutely. So Nick got in this Jeep. This Jeep is really awful to control. It's been just sitting around in dirt and dust and grime for who knows how long. So it does not control very well. It's super easy to flip this thing if you're not careful. But it's a lot faster than running on foot. And thankfully, even though we left this Jeep here and we're going to return to base camp, we have a trick to keep this Jeep with us for extra missions, even though it's supposed to be over here. So we got the Wormhole Digger, we return to base camp, and that is this chapter.
Usually what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to activate the transporter there, but obviously we don't.
Yeah, you're supposed to like slowly explore the environment and find equipment and do all sorts of like, oh, here's this chest, I can build this thing, but we don't care about any of that. And the only transporters we're going to be building, or excuse me, the only transporters we're going to be activating are the ones that are either completely required by the game or actually save us time. Because some of them are, we'll run past some and they're cool and all, but not necessary because of the time it takes to defend them. So we're using the Wormhole Digger and we have to defend the base camp. So we have a 6-minute defense here. Now that might be like, oh, 6 minutes, don't worry.
Yeah, just you wait.
Just you wait. The good news is it's not just fighting enemies that we're going to be doing here. Nick has a lot of stuff he has to manage right now. For instance, now that he's level 5, he can get another gadget slot. And that means he can get some more goodies on his back. He's going to repair his equipment. He's going to get some medicine in case he gets injured later. Injuries are a serious concern in this run. Whenever you get hit by an enemy, you have a chance to get injured. And injuries are super bad. Well, some of them aren't that big of a deal, but some are horrible. For instance, bleeding. Bleeding means that you don't have any auto health recovery. Your health is whatever it is. And that's really bad. Now you can use a health spray, a first aid spray, kind of like in Resident Evil, to heal yourself even when you're bleeding, but you really don't want to be bleeding, so we get some bandages for that. And then the other one, there's 2 other ones we really don't want. Bruising, which reduces our total stamina, and then sprains. And if you get sprained, you are going to be walking so slowly, you're hobbling. So that's why we get the taping kits. Yeah, if you get sprained and you don't have taping kits, you're either going to die or you're gonna want to die.
Yeah, I think
that's how that feels.
I think I might say the worst one casually is bleeding, probably just because it leaves this very annoying blood effect that appears constantly on the screen.
Yeah, that doesn't help either. Like, the screen gets covered in jam. So, you know, even though it's like, LOL, we have these great weapons, we still don't want to mess with these wanderers. They can even sprain you. I've seen it happen. It's awful. It's super rare, but they can sprain you. And if you get sprained while you're fighting a group of wanderers, you're in a really big bind. If you have multiple wanderers hitting you at once, yeah, we have good equipment, but that will kill us.
I'm very glad that's never happened to me.
It's pretty awful. Thankfully, it's super rare, but not something you ever want to see, so...
Isn't it didn't you say in a guide or something it can only be caused by wanderers that are crawling on the ground?
That is, in my experience, the only times that's happened, because they grab at your shins. They attack you from the ground. That's the only times I've seen that happen. So, even the ones that are crawling on the ground are no joke. You may think, what the heck is Nick doing? Why is he just wasting all these explosives? This is another thing. He loves destruction, and it's actually faster, because we're going to have to destroy all this stuff that's out here later on anyways, so we can build a bigger defensive platform. But rather than manually destroying it in the build menu, it's faster to destroy it like this in New Game Plus. In New Game, we actually do want to destroy it the typical way, not just because we don't really have the grenades to spare, but also it gives you resources when you destroy them manually.
May I make an embarrassing confession on those destroyable parts of the base?
Let's hear it.
I saw you doing that in a speedrun, and I was like, oh cool, I might as well do that. And I attempted to do it outside of base defense, so it did no damage, and I wasted about a pack of grenades.
That's really good. Hey.
At least I learnt my lesson.
That does bring up a really good point, though. You can't destroy stuff outside of the defense. That's because wanderers can slowly destroy this stuff on their own. They'll just start swatting at it. Even your like, let's say you have a farm or a medical house or anything like that, they can destroy that, and if it's destroyed, it's gone. You have to build a new one, and that costs energy, aka money and experience. So, when you're actually like legitimately playing the game, you have to be thinking, okay, where do I want to put my defensive positions? You know, it's a tower defense game. Because you don't want to put your valuable buildings in harm's way.
The bad news is that later in the run we will have a boss who will appear at base camp and try to destroy stuff. The good news is that because it's a speed run, he'll die in like 10 seconds.
Alright, so well done, Nick. All he has left to do now is do his buffs and repair. I'm both saying this for the audience sake and for Nick's sake, because I really don't want to see him like have no gun. It's also super important that the way he does his repair, refill his ammo is a very specific way. After the initial use of equipping your loadout, we never do that for the rest of the game. Because if you do that during the run, it's super buggy. Sometimes it'll unequip your air tank. Sometimes it'll delete your food and water. It is a bad jam. So we only use the loadout function to get our loadout at the very start of the run, and that's it. Instead we press shift.
I definitely do remember watching Nick practice speedrunning the game, and then he suddenly died in the middle of the dust because the game unequipped his air tank.
Yep,
that's happened.
Yep, that'll happen. So that is why we don't ever use the loadout function after that. So you might be saying, why is Nick loading a save even though he's done literally nothing? Well, good question. Because now that Jeep that Nick drove earlier is going to magically reappear where it was before. So now we get to use the Jeep again. The only caveat to this cute little trick is that the Jeep can't be destroyed. The Jeep can be destroyed either by, driving it for too long, or, running into enemies or like flipping it or something like that. So if the Jeep gets destroyed, this trick doesn't work, but this allows us to get back in the Jeep, and we have someone to introduce to all of you.
Here he is.
Make himself known. That's the Lord of Dust. That is the big baddie. He is this lumbering, huge, like crystalline monster that wanders the countryside of Vitae. And if you get stomped by the Lord of the Dust, it's a one-hit kill. So if you're like near him, it won't kill you. But if you like get completely stomped, you're dead. So
but even if you're just him, it will like do damage and make you do an animation when you're stuck in place. So you really don't want to get close to him.
Yeah, it doesn't like you take like 80% of your life in a stomp. It's really bad. So
the good news is that the Lord of Dust will not attack you unless you attack him, and we'll be leaving him alone, obviously.
Yeah, we will be completely leaving him alone, even till the bitter end. Even though he sometimes attacks us, we're friends. We're just trying to get out of here. That's our goal. So we see these like high level 10, level 11, and you see this skull marker. If you see a skull marker, that means they are a high-level beast, and we're going to do significantly less damage to these enemies due to our low level. And this is exactly what I was talking about earlier, about why leveling is important. We only have so many resources, and you'll see Nick has to do several shots against these high-level wanderers to take them out. So just imagine if you just stayed level 1, all these enemies would be skulls.
It's very weird to watch because in my game I have level 50 wanderers, and they're very easy to beat. So it's quite weird seeing the skull icon above a level 10 wanderer. The thing Nick is doing right there, where he backstabs the wanderers to get a one-hit kill, if I'm remembering correctly, that doesn't work on the Red Skull Wanderers. It takes 2 backstabs, so...
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, it doesn't do enough damage. The backstab is great because it doesn't cost any ammo, but you have heavy arrows, right?
No. Something has gone wrong with my equipment loadout, and I do not have heavy arrows. Heavy arrows
Well,
are...
your Metal Gear run without it.
You'll resolve that next time we're back. It's okay.
It shouldn't be too bad. This dig is the only dig that you kind of have to be a bit careful with, because you're under-leveled, and we don't really want to be like reusing all of our items again. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to go and like regather a load of stuff. So what I'm gonna do for the most part is I'm gonna use what's called a lure to try and gather the enemies together, and then that's going to allow me to use my explosives a bit more. Words.
Apologies if this has already been brought up, but an interesting quirk on how I think it's both the grenades and the C4 work in this game is the damage they do is unleveled, so they will be doing 1-hit kills to Wanderers whether you're level 1 or level 60, which is really useful.
Grenades in this game are absolutely overpowered. They are so good.
And they're very cheap to make.
Yeah, the grenades completely ignore your level, and because of how good they are, we also use them in the new game run. Even though we have to go pick up, resources and supplies for them to build them, the fact that they ignore level and they're these huge explosions, you can really abuse them to your advantage.
And also, a lot of the time... Oh, you gonna say something? Sorry.
I was just gonna say, you gotta rest before you run out of gas.
Oh, yeah. You gotta supply yourself with Kuban energy.
Everyone knows Kuban energy is gas, apparently. But go ahead. I had to meme a little bit.
I'm gonna be honest, I forgot what I was going to say, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I mean, I should be apologizing. I was the one that interrupted you, but...
It's fine.
No, I'll apologize.
now,
No,
sorry.
I'll apologize.
No. I was gonna say, another good thing about grenades is that the Wanderers are, I suppose, naturally curious. So if you throw one into a pile of them, they'll all gather around it like, oh, what's this? And then they'll get one.
Yeah, and the fuse is really long on the grenade, so it really works out with the lure grenade combo in that way. So, we're just chilling, like villains. Nothing to do. So, if you look right above the 2 bars, you'll see on the left an O2 meter. And if you run out of oxygen out in the dust, you will very quickly die. It's not like instantaneous, but you'll die in like, I don't know. It's like 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So yeah,
your health is slowly chunked down.
One interesting thing I noticed when messing around with Speed Engine in this game, at the very least the cheat engine I use, your health goes down so fast when you don't have oxygen that even with an infinite health cheat, you will die anyway.
Wow, that's incredible.
I was very confused.
That is bizarre, frankly. That is pretty bizarre. Anyways, the moral of the story is do not make the error where you completely forget to put in your oxygen on a long defense. Like this one, where we have to do 3 waves. If you play the multiplayer in this game, which is not that bad, it is quite fun. You can actually increase the speed of the digger and skip the waiting around time in between digs. My understanding is that was patched into the multiplayer after launch, but they never.
Unfortunately, single player people.
Yeah, they never added it to single player, which is a real shame because I think in New Game Plus that would save like I don't know, like 3 minutes or something.
Oh, you know
pretty
what would be fantastic?
substantial. Not having to do this, what?
That yes, that too. But in co-op, when you can summon Metal Gear Ray and Rex to fight the Wanderers for you, if you could do that in single player.
That would also be cool. There's a lot of cool
would be
things
pretty
you can do in multiplayer that you cannot do in single player, which kind of goes into my main issue with this game is that you cannot do co-op for the single player story, which is a real shame because a lot of people who play the Metal Gear games, who are Metal Gear fans, love playing Peace Walker co-op. But a game that was centered around the idea of multiplayer does not allow you to play the story campaign co-op. And that would be such a fun run.
It
Oh,
would.
honestly.
You just goof around with another runner for several minutes on end.
Like,
That'd
it
be
is
great.
genuinely such a missed opportunity.
Yeah, and what we got for multiplayer, while enjoyable, is very bare bones. You know, we don't have. You know, they never released additional maps. You know, what was made was what was made. They have like events and stuff, which is nice, but they're basically predetermined events based on the holidays. So even though I quite enjoy this game as a guilty pleasure for myself, it's like, couldn't you focus if you're gonna go into the multiplayer stuff, like completely lean into it and let you play single player co-op, you know?
My guess is that the initial reception to the game was just so terrible that they pushed the game out the door, gave it a few updates, and washed their hands of it.
Yeah, I think that is probably quite accurate. Anyone who was around for when the launch trailer was created probably knows that this game was not received well by the fan base or the general gaming community. I think people were at best like confused or at worst disgusted, you know.
I will say, I think my favorite reaction that I've seen was Vinny Vinesauce spending the entire trailer catatonic in his chair.
That's a fair response. So we're gonna level up. We just got a ton of experience from that dig. Thankfully, when we defeat wanderers and digs, they just auto give our experience, auto give their Kuban rather than us having to harvest them out in the field. So Nick's gonna level up to at least 10, and then get level 3 Dex and Endurance, and then get his heavy arrows because he wants those. So he's gonna refill his stuff after he once again loads a save for apparently no reason, but that's for the Jeep.
That's the last time we'll be doing that for the Jeep.
Can I ask, how much time do you estimate the Jeep saves?
Between all the times we use it?
Yes.
On New Game Plus, it's not quite as much, but it saves several minutes. And part of it is just we don't have the transporters, you know. This run we're about to do, okay, there we go. There's our heavy arrows.
Good job.
This run we're about to do is, I think it is, no, it's not the longest. It wouldn't be quite the longest run in the game. Well, regardless, this is a very long stretch of running that you would have to do if you did not have the Jeep. It's either between this or saving Nick, but not the Nick playing. There's a Nicholas in game. It's confusing. But
I'm the
we're
worst
gonna be
person
using.
to be playing this.
No, you are the best person to be playing this.
We are
now
going to
we
get
just
say
need to
hello to
find-
Dusty.
Yeah. We just need to find a Miranda or a Seth to run this game now. Or
Everybody say,
Reeve.
hey, Dusty.
No Dusty. Dusty Baker. Both managing a World Series and in Metal Gear Survive, the hottest game of 2018. So, we take a particular route for the Jeep. We drive this sucker as far as we can until it blows up. But thankfully, the designers left us a handy walker gear for us to use. Walker gears are basically these like bipedal mechs, so we can climb up in them and start running. So we just take one vehicle for another.
They
They're
I
running
think
this.
I think the walker gears are pretty fun to use in this game. So it's a shame that you know, eventually they blow up because they got all that dust in their circuits.
Yeah, we have a chain gun on them, which is great, and you can also like melee attack with them, I believe, in this game as well. So they're pretty handy. We're just using them for the sheer fact that it's just faster than running, whether we're in dirty air or clean air. So we're about to save arguably the most important character in the whole plot, and it's a child. Who is that child, this Granola?
The child is Chris. He is a little. He is the one child we will find on this run. Thank God. And he is. I'm trying to think of things to say that don't include spoilers. It's pretty hard.
Well, as far as we're aware, it's like, hey, this is our code of conduct. We're gonna save this child. Yes, like
Yes.
children aren't gonna be, you know, it's like we last saved a nurse. That's having
Yeah.
a nurse is good to have, and Reeve is like a legitimate soldier. He's a merc. So, but Chris here,
We're gonna take him back to base camp, and then we're going to find out he needs a wheelchair, and we're going to go into a hospital wing of Mother Base, I believe, and find the parts for that, and also the spider room, which we'll talk about later.
So now we're going to defend our transporter, and the way we're going to do that is with this handy machine gun right here. Rather than wasting resources, just pew 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 these watchers and wanderers.
This is probably
Also, our
the
first time seeing watchers in game.
it's probably the easiest defense. Just sit
Oh,
here
for
on this
sure.
on this gun. Luckily, it's not too long either.
It helps that the watchers have such little health.
Yeah, they're just
And because-
they're more annoying than actually
Yeah.
dangerous.
Their purpose in the game is to look out for the player and then alert nearby wanderers when they see you. They do have an attack, but I think even when you're at very low levels, it does absolutely no damage. So in this base defense, they're basically just a nuisance.
They're basically flying security cameras.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like,
So now that we've taken out most of the enemies, we can pick up Chris and get into position, eat our food, get ourselves all situated for bringing him back to base. I think you're gonna get blown up if you stand there, but we'll see.
let's play that safe, I think.
Yeah, you want to be right by the gun.
Yeah, I went the wrong way.
Oh well,
That's
It's
okay.
you didn't blow up.
That was the
No.
important bit.
Yeah, if you're standing near the completion of the defense, there's this huge wave that happens, and if you're carrying anyone, you drop them immediately, and you also have to like steady yourself because of the energy wave. So we always want to be positioning ourselves around some kind of wall to avoid that. So, like Discranola was saying, we are now going to be getting some wheelchair parts for Chris. But that's not all. We're also going to get a new memory board for Virgil.
And we're also going to see the spider room.
Yes, the legendary spider room. Worth mentioning that all the enemy designs in this game were done by Masahiro Ito. And for those of you who watched the last run, Silent Hill 3, Masahiro Ito is an alum of Team Silent, designer of such creatures as the Red Pyramid thing in Silent Hill 2. So he was contracted to do the enemy designs in this game, and if you look at the renders and models, I think it shows that it has a bit of a horror edge to them, and I think that is thanks in due part to Masahiro Ito.
And he has been quite polite in responding to questions about his work on Survive on Twitter, so shouts out to him for that.
Yes, and I don't think he ever tweeted that he regrets designing the Lord of Dust, so...
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
so think about that. Chew on that for a minute. Anyways,
Would now
so...
be a good time to jump in with something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. Just want to remind everybody that we are raising money for To Write Love on Our Arms. They're a non-profit movement dedicated to presenting hope and finding help for people struggling with depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide. To Write Love on Our Arms exists to encourage, inform, inspire, and invest directly in treatment and recovery. All of your donations go to this wonderful organization. And just as a reminder, we still have some donation incentives for you all. The upcoming run that is next is Liminal Ranger as the next donation incentive. You can donate toward the true ending or the normal ending. Right now, true ending is winning. So if you want to see normal ending, be sure to get your donations in before that run starts.
Fantastic. Now that we have finished this chapter, we need to
Something to build.
Yeah, we got to build something. Thankfully, our position is so that we don't have to move that much. We're building the exploration team ready room, which we will not be using, but essentially what it is it allows us to send units out to go find resources, food, materials, hunt, all that kind of stuff, get energy, yada yada. That's actually very relevant for the new game run. We have to use the exploration team ready room to get resources to build concrete. But we already have all the concrete we need in New Game Plus, so that is not a problem here. So we just have to build it for the purposes of continuing the game. Now we are going to go save Nick. We're saving Nick as Nick is playing Survive. Nick, what's going on?
We're going to head over to where Nicholas, I'll refer to him as Nicholas and me as Nick, even though technically I am also called Nicholas. But no one calls me that. Only Mother when she's angry.
There you go.
This bit coming up, this is one of the longest like little bits of running, and the thing with running through the dust like this is you'll notice there aren't that many landmarks. This one is very much, oh look, there's a tree, I recognize that tree. Oh, there's another tree over there, I'm gonna run towards that tree. This is one of the routes that took me a while to learn. And as you'll have seen so far, most of the actual speed running and running through the game is just running. It is getting from A to B as quickly and efficiently as possible. There's a big girder there, that's my next landmark. And I know I'm in the right location because we get this really terrible bit of dialogue from Nicholas.
Yeah, he is sending his last request because he is scared out of his gourd, which is quite reasonable because this is the hardest defense in the whole game. I
Yep.
think.
Yep.
For New Game Plus, you are at the greatest risk of dying doing this way. But first, nice little shortcut. You're supposed to run around either to the north or down to the south, but instead we're gonna drop a fence and climb the fence to get onto the higher ground here to immediately go to Nicholas. It was a time save I found. It saves like 30 seconds or so over having to run around, so it's pretty nice little shortcut there. So go ahead.
I believe when I first played this game, I decided to stop playing for a while before this mission. So this is the mission I came back to about after a year of not playing. And you can probably imagine how I felt about that, seeing all the wanderers.
No!
Oh boy. Well, you are at the top of the hill. That does help, but I think you're gonna have to clean house a little bit. All right. Okay, that's probably good.
This is a
Well-
nightmare when you're not doing New Game Plus.
Yeah, well, that was honestly the best place to get your leg grabbed onto. If you
Yeah.
get your leg grabbed onto down the hill, it's over. Nick's gonna get killed. But thankfully, we were past enough of them. There's just a huge. Oh yeah. There's a huge crowd of wanderers, and you're not really supposed to like just go run straight for this transporter. You're supposed to like slowly make your way up there and clear the crowd. But you know, we're speedrunners. We're trying to like activate the transporter as quickly as possible. So you can easily get overwhelmed here either while you're climbing the hill, because wanderers are not consistent. They're not going to act the same way every single time. That might just be the game. It also could be a factor of the fact that this is an online only game. Like, this is a live connection game. Very dirty words in all of our minds, I know.
Yeah, it is
O
worth
word.
noting on that point that, as Lywood just said, this is an always online game. We play it through Steam. If Steam goes down for any reason, or we get booted out of the game, it is worth noting. It has happened to me once. Luckily,
Yeah,
the game itself does go down for maintenance, but it's always scheduled. I believe it's scheduled something like a really early morning Tuesday or something like that.
Yep,
There's
it's
no-
Tuesday.
So there's no problem with that. It's whether if Steam ever decides to just go down for, even if it only goes down for like a couple of minutes, just for a quick refresh or something, we'll get booted out of the game and we'll have to wait for Steam to come back on. I say, Saturday night is kind of prime time for gaming. It's not really the kind of time you'd expect Steam to be going down, so there shouldn't be any danger of that.
I think one of my more memorable memories with this game is when I was in the middle of a boss fight and my Steam account was logged out on a different computer, which logged out my Steam account on my computer and kicked me out of the game.
Looks like I've cleared everything out.
Yeah, this is the transport defense of everything at once and then nothing. You just kind of chill for 2 minutes. So thankfully Nick cleared all the wanderers for Nicholas, and even though he got grabbed, it did not lead to Nicholas dying. Because if that happened, we'd have to start that run all over again.
Yeah, back to base, through the transporter, run through the dust, use the fence, all the way back to you.
Yep. So thankfully that didn't happen. We are going to bring Nicholas back. He is a chef. Well, he's a cop, if I remember
He's
correctly.
really good at cooking food.
Yeah, but he's super good at cooking food, so he's gonna be. If you are doing your base match, you're like, all right, you're on food duty. It's great, but we don't need to do any base management besides what we're required to do in this run. So, did our defense successfully enough. And we go back home with Nicholas. Not the last POW that we'll be saving in this run. If anyone wonders why I'm calling them POWs, it's just because in Metal Gear terms, you do save POWs throughout the series, and they're typically called POWs, so just as a way of continuity, I suppose, with the terminology.
Well, the good news is that they do have voice files labeled as POW, so you're correct.
There you
technically.
go. There you go. It's even in the files, folks. It's even in the files. So we're about to do our next wave defense. Very exciting. This is the easiest one of the three. Not a whole lot to worry about here, so we're going to be messing around and also finally getting into the plot, because we've touched on it a little bit, what's going on, but we haven't like really dived in. So I guess before we get into that, this is the I think this is the wrecked village. No, ruined village. I forget.
Fallen village.
The fallen village. Yeah, there's the wrecked base, the ruined village, and the deserted mine.
Yes, deserted mine.
Yeah.
Very last one.
I'm glad someone can remember that because I couldn't.
Yeah, all those adjectives are fairly similar to each other, so I kind of get them mixed up. But this one is really easy. There's not a whole lot we need to worry about here. Even on new game, this is not that hard of a defense, thankfully. So we just have to do this 3 times and we're home free. So we'll do a plot summary up to this point. What has happened? We came into Dite from a wormhole that appeared at Mother Base. We were talking to some guy named Good Luck, who is involved somehow, and is apparently the guy from the intro that was looking at our coffin. Okay. What else has happened so far?
Well, we've met up with Reeve. We've formed a truce with him, for obvious reasons. We found out that the way we are supposed to get home is to use the wormhole digger to harvest Kubon energy. Rescued Chris, Nicholas.
Rescued
See, the
Miranda.
problem is... Oh yeah, sorry, the problem is that since we've we've skipped all the cutscenes.
There's a lot of talking throughout. This game's story really does play out like a Metal Gear game. This was not written by any of the typical Metal Gear writers. I forget who exactly did the writing for this game, but they definitely looked at the source material for like creating that Metal Gear vibe in terms of the storytelling and communication. So there's like audio diaries and really basically like codec calls that bookend every chapter.
I will say, to add on to the story thing, that even though we're backtracking on the story here, the thing at the start about going into the wormhole that leads to Dite is a bit more complicated than that. Technically speaking, we didn't go through the wormhole. We just had our arm cut off by the wormhole, fell down back to Mother Base, put in the coffin, put into the sea. But then the organisation that Good Luck works for, the Wardenclyffe section, they found the coffin, and it turns out that 6 months after the attack on Mother Base, the arm that was chopped off has regrown because we're infected with the same life form that makes the Wanderers. So basically we're a zombie infectee, so we can't stay on Earth anymore, so Good Luck sends us to Dite to do a bunch of stuff for him while also keeping Earth safe.
Yeah, that is correct. We are actually attacking our brethren, oddly enough, in more ways than one. So,
We'll see
every time
that.
yeah, we'll understand more about that later. But right now, our goal is to get enough resources so that we can hopefully dig back home. That's what's going to happen next. We're going to try, and spoilers fail because there's still plenty of run to go to get back home.
One more thing we were supposed to do before trying to get home. The same day that Mother Base was attacked, there was this unit sent into DT called the Karen Corps. Basically, they're all dead, and we need to find out why they all died. So we're also trying to find out what happened to them.
It is correct, and similar to the cassette tapes in Peace Walker, Ground Zeroes, Phantom Pain, we find these audio diaries in the fog in DT from Karen Corps members and get bits and pieces of the story. For as wacky as this story is, I actually think the payoff is kind of worth it, and it is a bit goofy and pretty crazy, but I actually think it's pretty well told, all things considered.
I am incredibly biased because I love this game a lot, but I do think the plot is...
Granola got cut off by the robots, or by Metal Gear fans who are like, no, how could you say that?
Even by Metal Gear standards, I mean, if you've played any Metal Gear game, you'll know that the plots are pretty crazy to begin with. This does still take it up a notch.
Yeah, I apologize if my... just then. My computer went into sleep mode.
Oh, nice. You know, that is a fairly good response to this defense, so I think your computer has the right idea.
That's the second time I've forgotten to move the mouse around and my computer has gone into sleep mode. The first time was when we were rescuing Miranda.
That is the end of wave 2. We still have one more wave to go.
Thanks for reminding me.
And if you think that this one's quite long, oh boy, don't you worry, we've got more digs to go.
Just you wait.
I would say the start of this dig is about the halfway point of the whole run.
Yeah, that's about right. We're about halfway through the run, but I'd say we're probably like 70% of the way through the actual like speed running parts.
Yeah.
A lot of the action in speedrunning happens in the first half of the run, particularly in the first 30 minutes. Is a lot of stuff to do. Go here, go there, get this thing, get that thing.
I think the good news is that during the longest auto-scroller, I suppose we'll have a lot of time to explain plot stuff.
Yes.
Yes, there'll be plenty more plot to come. Oh, it's not. Let's keep an eye on your stamina.
If you sprint a lot, you will drain your stamina faster. Fun fact, running does make you breathe more, and therefore you use more oxygen.
Real life fact.
Real life facts.
It was worthwhile explaining, like, how New Game Plus really works. All the resources you have are on your account. So Nick has a main account where he gets his equipment and all that stuff, but all the resources on that first account are shared with the second account. So we have access to all this gear through that method. Now you can actually run New Game Plus without starting a new character. Sounds a bit weird, but the level up station, I forget what the exact name is, on base, allows you to replay missions. And you could just replay every mission with the best gear and best equipment and best stats, and technically that would be a New Game Plus run. Problem is, the load times in this game are absolutely atrocious, and you have to load in and load out of every mission. On top of that, we can't use return to base camp if we're doing those chapter replays, which loses a lot of time. You can run as fast as you can in this game, but you're not zipping across the map. We're not doing anything that wild. So even though we don't have as great gear, it does not seem like running the game that way is faster, even with the benefits it provides, due to the fact you have to run so much more.
And because of the way this game stores resources, it also means that if you want to do a new game run, things get very tedious.
Yes, like really the best solution for new game is just have like a separate account entirely for new game and quarantine it from New Game Plus, because it's just really confusing and a pain to not do it that way. Well, speaking of new game, I have you cornered, Nick. Do you think you'll ever run new game for this game?
I would like to give it a shot, because it does sound a lot more interesting. You know, as we've seen from this, there's a lot of downtime in this one. We're now going to level up, and we're going to do the expansion. I actually have to switch the controller for the expansion, because the base building mechanics with keyboard and mouse are atrocious. I did do it earlier for building the other unit, but that was because I was only moving like one piece. In here, we've got to go around. We've got to destroy all of these. So this is why earlier when we did the base camp dig, I was blowing up all that stuff, because we need to make sure that the entire perimeter is clear. I always miss that one, so I'm glad I remembered. That should be it. There we go. Now I put the controller down and never use it again.
Yeah, for some reason, the mouse acceleration just does not exist. Like you have to like constantly be pulling your mouse over and over again to make any distance, whereas on controller it goes very fast. So this is a game where you want to play with controller, at least for that. Also, this dialogue here is slightly faster in Japanese. This is where we save that other second-ish.
So I will say, on the base camp building mechanics, I play this game with the controller because I'm just generally used to playing games with the controller. And I heard, like, oh, it's so bad. With a mouse, it's horrible. And I was thinking, oh, it can't be that bad. And then one day my controller died, but I wanted to check on things at base camp, and yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, which is really bizarre, because you'd think like the base management with the mouse would be actually the best, but nope, not at all. So you might be saying,
I thought something was wrong.
Yeah, it's like, nope, that's just the game. So this is a very epic defense. We think we're about to go back home. Spoilers, we're not. You're like, but where's the dramatic music? Well, it does play, but only the one time it plays. Every other time you ever play this again on your account, it's just dead silent. So, yeah, this is just a very quiet, tense base defense.
Thank you, Kanani.
Well done. It is quite tense in New Game, though, because a lot of high-level wanderers. And
I mean,
the
I
start
guess
of this
it's an
is pretty
excuse.
dangerous.
Yeah, I guess it's an excuse to just put on your own music, I suppose.
Yes. Yes, cue the horrible game music. Horrible music.
Don't worry, I can't say it either.
It's a cute pun, but it's really difficult to say.
It is very
Like-
difficult to say, yes.
Horrible.
You just have to just make a joke of it every time. But hey, I think that's fairly appropriate, yeah?
Yeah.
When I come back, I'm like, welcome back to Horrible Games 22.
It's in the spirit of the marathon.
It absolutely is. Tongue firmly in cheek. Firmly in cheek, folks. Please don't kick me off the mic. We see once again the power of the grenade. Rather than having to shoot multiple bullets into wanderers, just throw a grenade and they're all dead. It's so broken. I mean, it's great. It's fun.
It's fun.
But it is like the best gadget in the whole game, no question. It's just universally good. Even if you're playing extreme, like the highest level wanderers, the only ones that are not great for the grenades are one particular special wanderer called they're called desolators or destroyers or whatever.
Devastators.
Yeah, devastators. And then elemental wanderers that are on fire or whatever. But other than that, though, the grenade is just so good.
The very first time I encountered a devastator while I was playing co-op, I went to backstab it, and it did about a pixel of health, and that's when I knew I was in trouble.
Thankfully, we only come across one devastator in an actual in a new game plus run.
Technically speaking, he's very, 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 very downgraded for single player.
An extremely weak devastator,
Which
It's
is really bizarre. There's just some strange design decisions for the single player in this game. But hey, you know, what do I know? I've only played this game for like 400 hours.
No, I only got 230.
I'm not actually sure what I'm on now.
Actually, I should double check. I don't want to lie on stream. Let's compare and contrast. We got some time.
If you do, they ban you for lying about your Metal Gear Survive speedrun time.
Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. Oh no, 423.4.
Oh.
There you go. That doesn't
me
count
mine too.
Xbox. So I played on Xbox too.
Yeah, mine is 230 hours. Exactly.
You know, I don't know if I should be impressed or disturbed with myself that I have more time in this game than you, Rob. I don't know.
I mean, it's because you do speed runs, so
It's
true.
And I have a gentleman's 112.
you'll get there one day.
Gentleman's 112.
That is
We're
that is based on my one and only casual play of this run, which I only did a couple of years ago. And then this is the fastest game. Oh, something's going through.
Cool.
This is actually the fastest game that I have picked up learnt and then run a marathon. I started learning this mid-October. Right.
Those explosive rounds are so bored. Like, you're hitting enemies that are around the corner. So great.
Everything.
You got your shotgun. You got your new gadget. Do you have your iron watchtowers?
No, not yet, for reasons which I'll explain. So I actually forgot to do something. I was supposed to level to level 15 for the start of this.
That's why they're all
do.
skulls.
And that's why they're all skulls. It's not
okay.
It's not too big of an issue.
It's not a huge time loss. It's just going to be the time loss of this next chapter, which is, I think it's the only sub chapter in the whole game.
Yep.
Technically, this is the same chapter, but part 2.
It's confusing.
It is confusing, but we are now going to climb up this destroyed platform with Chris on our back to get through the wormhole to quote unquote head home. But we are
And
not
Dusty's
going
going to try to give us a high five.
Dusty's going to try and give us a high five and also shoot like these crystals at us, which not really a threat on New Game Plus, but they can hit you on New Game. Which
Here we
is
go.
not fun. Yeah, if you get grabbed by Dusty, you just die. Now, if you're playing, if you have the best gear with the best stats, you can actually outrun the hand. But not so with this gear. Also, I just realized you kind of look like Meryl. You have the bandana and the red hair thing going on.
Maybe she got sucked through a wormhole.
Oh, sorry, Blurple. Blurple looks like Meryl.
Oh yeah.
Captain Blurple reporting for duty.
Time for a
So we
quick
have-
donation?
Go for it.
Alrighty, Balake B donates $5. Says, keep up the good work. Had to push it over $700. Thank you very much, Balake. And that did
Oh.
not go toward any incentive, but keep in mind we do have some incentives still open. Liminal Ranger is the next one up on the docket. So if you want to change the ending for the Liminal Ranger run, be sure to get your donations in.
Thank you for the donations, folks. So, sadly, we have not landed home. We are in the forward operating base, aka Africa, in Phantom Pain. So this is the Africa map. This map is significantly smaller compared to Afghanistan, but there's still plenty of ways to get lost and get hurt here. Some of the hardest levels in this game are actually here in Africa.
We're going to be encountering a lot of different wanderer types now.
Yes, it's the pacing of also shoutouts to Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, the theme of Solid Snake, playing for approximately 15 seconds over the radio because it's there and Nick has the music cassette. A lot of great music that you can find out in the world from various Konami games. You can get Castlevania music, Silent Hill music, Winning 11-7 soccer music, some arcade games, whatever. But that right there is a grabber. Nick shoots it to avoid getting grabbed. It shoots this big vine thing out, and it's super annoying because we get completely stopped in our tracks. And here, Nick is going to throw a lure, and this is to distract a group of wanderers and grabbers here as he goes and tries to sneak to this.
Nope.
Yeah, I think he threw that a little bit too late. He had to hold it a little bit longer. Well,
This is just like a really tricky area.
yeah, this is one of the most, actually is the most strict, I would say, stealth sequence in the whole game. And because wanderers aren't completely consistent, you have to sometimes play it by ear.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the way you know that you can't interact with something is you look at the threat ring near your character, and if it's all white, then it's fine. But if you see those red squares with their exclamation marks, then you can't interact with what you want to interact with. All right, so now Nick is going to rescue the final person we are going to put on our back in this game. And it's Seth from the intro cutscene. He ended up in Dite. Gotta save our buddy, right?
Mm-hmm. I took a break from when I first played this game to when I got to this mission. So when I was playing this game casually, the game was like, hey, do you remember your buddy Seth? And I had no idea who he was.
I believe
Just
Seth
like,
is
sure, that's my friend.
But he's gonna leave quite an impression.
It's true. This area has gone through several revisions. What Nick is going to do is take the right side and climb these rocks. This is another area where we want to be stealthy. Don't let anyone tell you that this is not a stealth game. You have to climb up that blotchy part on the right. There you go. Or you can just climb
there
like
we
that.
go.
There you go.
Hardcore
Yeah.
parkour.
There's some very tricky parkour sequences that you can do in this run where it's like there's this stripe on the rock that you can climb, but only this part of the rock in this direction. It's very weird. But so what Nick's gonna do here is throw a Kuban crystal, which is basically like a free tiny lure to distract a bunch of enemies away, and then just sort of sneak into this facility over here to rescue Seth.
Would you mind if I explained some
Yes,
story
you
stuff
should
here?
explain. Yeah, you should explain the story right here. What happened?
Okay, so the cutscene we just skipped, Seth was being threatened at gunpoint by a man called Dan. When we take Seth back to the FOB, he's going to tell us that Dan is a member of the Karen cause who supposedly went crazy and just killed the rest of them. And this is going to lead to a very, very short kind of subplot about finding out who was the one that betrayed the Karen cause.
And the African wild dog doing just the thing I wanted him to do to make a talking point. This is the one defense where we have to deal with wild dogs, and they're just annoying. Like if they follow you and they jump into you, you just immediately drop Seth. So best to deal with them. I think they can also injure you, but I cannot recall exactly. So they're just
When
annoying.
you're playing casually and you're just trying to collect resources and they wander up to you and decide they want to bite you.
Yeah, they'll do that. So this is a really short defense. We're just like in and out of here in no time. Which is good because we're going to be using this transporter again to go forward in Africa. So return back to the FOB, and we have saved our last POW for the game. Give it up for Seth, the man with the pretty hair, and he's our friend from way back when. I don't actually know what his stats are for the development, but
I have some underwhelming news, I suppose.
okay.
I think because when he's a member of your crew, all that stuff is disabled. He just has like the default on everything, which is a shame.
That is a shame. That is a shame. So we are now going to find a very powerful weapon that is going to help us in defeating the Lord of Dust.
I should have brought that up.
Yes, so Sahelanthropus from the Phantom Pain is in this game. It has been sitting in a ditch. For some reason, it's sitting in a ditch nearby, and there's a railgun on its shoulder. So we're going to go investigate and be like, oh, here's this big mecha, and it has a cool weapon. Probably use that against the Lord of Dust, because Lord of Dust is this huge, it has this really strong exterior skeleton. Like, how are we supposed to defeat that with conventional weaponry? We can't, but we find Sahelanthropus, or as I like to call it, Sally, out in the dust.
Easier.
Much easier to say.
And Todd.
Yeah, it's a cute name. So we get into walker gear here. We're going to be going along the river. If you didn't do this whole area is an absolute chore. Where we have multiple new enemy types to deal with. We have warders, which are these big dudes that shoot these, mortar shells at you that explode. And we have these jumping enemies, and what are those called, Discrinola?
Trackers.
Trackers, yes. The trackers, they're kind of funny. Like, they just sort of jump wildly at you. They have these big crystal heads. They just kind of leap at you. They also do these ballerina kicks.
There we go.
Yep. Thankfully, we don't need to fight them yet. They're pretty annoying to deal with because they're hard to catch. They move around a lot. Very mobile. This is one of those things I want to bring up as well, that is kind of weird about this game. Like, the moment you enter Africa, you encounter 3 new enemy types, and it's good that there's new enemy types, but if you play this game casually, for the most part, all you're fighting is wanderer up until this point. Yeah, there's the spiders, and there's the watchers, but they're not particularly dangerous.
And they're only in certain areas.
Yeah, they're just in certain areas of the game. It would have been nice if there was a little bit more enemy variety, or they introduced some of these enemies earlier, like weaker versions. That's just my opinion, though.
Can I do a bit of plot explaining?
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the reason we're trying to get Sahelanthropus is because Seth was like, hey, you can trust me, and to show this off, I'll tell you where a weapon that you can use to kill the Lord of Dust is. So we find Sahelanthropus. Dan shows up with a gun. He points it at us while also insisting he hasn't killed anyone, which is really good for his case. And then after we activate the wormhole transporter and go back to the FOB, things are gonna get there's gonna be a lot of tension at base, because now we're not really sure who it was that betrayed the Karen corpse, if it was Dan or if it was Seth.
That's right. Meanwhile, Nick is doing the second most dangerous wormhole defense in the game. This one's really annoying and frustrating because these mortars will use their secondary attack of it's like a spread gun, and it'll just interrupt you, and it's very tedious.
There is a
favorite one.
There is a way to make this, I would say, a lot easier. The problem is that it's pretty slow, so obviously don't do it for a speedrun.
Nice thing is about the mortars is that you can kick away their shots as long as you give yourself enough time. You can do that, which is pretty cool.
You can actually, I think if you have 2 weapons, you can like bat it between the weapons too.
Oh, that's cool. So we We're like, oh, cool. Oh, Sahelanthropus. That's something useful. We better go pick that up. And pick it up we will.
I'm sure it won't take long.
It'll only take a cool, oh, I don't know, 15-ish minutes. I think it's
This is
60,
such a nightmare, casually.
Whilst I'm at it, should just quickly. I should have hit shift to replenish all ammo. Right, back to the dig site.
That's right. So, this defense, the first time you do it casually, you're probably gonna die straight up. Like, unless you already know like the strategy and know what you're doing, you're probably gonna fail. It's 15.5 minutes. But what Nick's gonna do is put up a couple of fences on the back line just to make sure no one sneaks through. Keep a gap in between the fences so that he can like walk through and not have to climb over. And then get himself positioned in the river. There's gonna be a lot of enemies coming through.
Nick, quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to try to save the goats?
I am indeed going to try and save the goats.
If you said no, I swear, man. I swear, if you said, nah, I'm not saving the goats.
One of them's already dead. I'm sorry.
What?
Nick. Nick.
I'm
Get your head in the game.
I'm pretty sure
We
that's not
can't
true.
verify the speedrun anymore, I'm
Fake
sorry.
news.
What?
Oh, I don't see it. Oh no, no, you're right. It is dead.
Yeah,
No.
the bomber smacked it, I think. Yeah. 1 minute in, I already lost a goat. I'm not impressed, but all right.
The other goats.
Explain
Okay,
the
so-
inside. We'll explain the inside joke for everyone. Now you know the inside joke. So, because this defense is an absolute joke in New Game Plus, because we have all this great gear and we know how to set this up, the challenge in New Game Plus is not to get through the defense, because that's boring and we do it every time. The challenge is to save both of the goats that are in the river. They're really there for supplies, so like you could just eat some raw goat meat, or you can harvest them before you do this and like make some food for yourself. But instead we're like, okay, save the goats. It's all about saving the animals, you know. So if you lose a goat during the defense, that means your run is invalid. Not really, but you know, it is invalid because you didn't save the goats, and that's a major faux pas. But we got one, so we're only half wrong. Honoring the
Eat it in
Nubian.
its honor.
Eating raw Nubian meat in honor of the Nubian. Did you get poisoned?
I did not get food poisoning.
Okay, great.
With this section, there's a lot of waiting around because, of course, in a new game run, the game doesn't expect you to be able to take out the waves as quickly as we are. So you know, there's a lot of downtime waiting for the next set of routes to arrive.
Yeah, you can
And also
legitimately...
just like a time to replenish your supplies and stuff.
Yep, you can go get water. There's some berries to harvest. There's some birds flying around that you can take out and eat. You know, this is actually like the part of the run where you can legitimately go and take like a 2-minute break, like go to the bathroom, which is just not bad. As long as you know when in the timer it happens. On the new game run, we don't really have that luxury. It's a lot more hectic. It's not impossible, but it is a pretty nasty challenge doing this in new game, but it is totally doable. New game run, all the defenses are way more involved. So, more exciting, more dangerous, more involved.
More Metal Gear.
More Wanderer, baby. Okay, I think this is probably a good time for us to start talking about what's going to happen next in the plot, because the time that cutscene happens, we have like 20 seconds, and then there's speed running. So why don't we go into like what's actually happening in this game? We have 10 minutes.
Would you like me to start?
I think you should start. So we last left off. There's some controversy about who actually betrayed the Karen Corps. Who actually did it? Was it Dan?
So, basically, as soon as we finish the space defense, I think Nicholas is going to give us a call and say, you need to get back to base camp right now. And then we find out, oops, Seth has a gun. He's pointing it at Chris's head. He was the evil one who could have seen this coming. He tells us to come back to base camp alone. And, well, we're going to skip it, obviously, because it's just a codec scene, but he gives a very long info dump on what has actually been happening so far in the story.
Yeah. I guess I'll give probably the craziest detail. So, all these wanderers, their bodies are being possessed by nanomachines. They are nanomachine zombies.
Son.
And the dust itself is also nanomachines. And the Lord of Dust is this omega crazy big nanomachine monster.
It's like, people think it's silly, and yeah, it is, but I think it's like the natural escalation of how the series was going. Nanomachines getting more and more and more crazy, and then it's, oh, they can make zombies now.
It caused the end of the world, because I think this is revealed at this point. So up until this point, we're in this weird alternate universe. This is so weird. Like, it's like Metal Gear, but not really. And look at all these zombies. No, we're not in some alternate universe. This is the Earth in the future. This is the future of the Metal Gear universe. All that stuff in the Metal Gear series happened, but I think this is like 200 years.
22nd century, I think.
Yeah, 22nd century. So 100 odd years after the events of Rising, because that's like the last game that happens in the series. Some big event happens, and what is that event, Disgranola?
Well, basically, Seth, back at base camp, where he's holding Chris hostage, he gets questioned on his motives, and he reveals that he is a wanderer. Somehow, he arrived in DT through the wormhole and became a wanderer. And basically, he explains that maybe a few decades or so after the events of Rising, this type of medical nanomachine became sentient, I suppose, and decided to use that sentience to make zombies. So now these zombies want to use time travel to go. It's very silly, I'm sorry. They want to use time travel to go back in time so they can reinfect the world with these zombie nanomachines all over again.
Yes, the Lord of Dust's goal is to go through a wormhole and travel back in time to, basically seal the deal, so to speak. It's kind
of one big
I think it's kind of like a reverse Lavos situation, I guess. I don't know, from Chrono Trigger. Instead of being sitting on the earth and gaining strength, it's like, all right, I got strength, but I'm now gonna go back. I'm gonna time travel. So we don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
But...
So the good news for the Lord of Dust is that we will not be stopping him, because that takes an extra 20 minutes.
Yes, that is the bad ending. We're gonna get out of Dodge, but the Lord of Dust is still going to do its duties to itself and all the nanomachines. So this infection we have, it's a nanomachine infection.
If if after this run anyone would like to ask questions in the Discord, I would be more than happy to answer.
Actually, yeah, it is kind of like Terminator. Now that I think about it, you're right. This is a bit like the Terminator. This is Metal Gear Terminator. I never thought about that. I think that's
So does that mean
actually fairly accurate because there is a character that's essentially John Connor.
so
Sort of.
when we get Metal Gear Survive 2, we're gonna get a good Wanderer and a bad Wanderer?
That would be. Well, we are kind of the good wanderer, yeah.
Kinda. It's,
Kinda.
The game. I love this game a lot. I will say one big criticism I have of it is it's not consistent in its terminology, because it will insist to the ends of the earth that your character is in no way a wanderer, despite the fact that they're infected.
Yeah, it's weird. You're like Demi Wanderer.
Yeah. Another odd thing is, I've already said all that, spoilers, Seth's a wanderer. After this, we're gonna have a boss fight with him. Before that boss fight, we're gonna have a cutscene where we trick him, basically. Reeve shoots him in the head and we think he's dead, but then he comes back as a devastator and you have to do the boss fight. The way the game words that in chapter replay is that Seth becomes a wanderer, even though we already know he is one, because he keeps talking about how he's a wanderer.
Yeah, and his whole argument or philosophy is basically assimilation. Like, we should
Pretty much.
assimilate into what we are all destined to become anyways, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I
this is the
forgot
fate
to
of the world.
mention. Yeah, I forgot to mention the nanomachine zombies, the wanderers. They're also part of a hive mind.
Yes.
So,
Yes, like, I guess sort of like the Lord of Dust is kind of like the Queen Bee.
kinda.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Queen Bee or the Pied Piper.
Also, yeah. To respond to the thing in chat, that is a pretty valid point. But I do want to point out, even though we will be skipping the cutscene for obvious reasons, Seth does call himself in his human form a wanderer like 10 times. So he clearly considers himself one, even if he doesn't look like one.
That could be like a weird localization thing.
Yeah.
Could be. I think that's the next layer down we have to go, Discranola, is there differences with the original Japanese script?
Okay, listen.
What?
It is a pipe dream of mine, and I know it would cost a tremendous amount of money to hire a translator to go through every single piece of dialogue in the game from the original Japanese script and retranslate it to see if there's any differences.
The good news is that project is evergreen, unlike this game, which sadly may one day completely be gone because it's always
Yeah.
online. Thankfully, I don't know if there's anything on YouTube with. There has to be some Japanese playthrough on YouTube with all the cutscenes, but at least that will always exist.
Oh, for sure. And like
but,
I have all the game files and stuff.
Yeah, there you go. We got
Also,
the game files.
to the person in chat, trust me when I say you don't want to hear me go on about this for like 20 minutes on stream. If you want to hear me talk about the intricacies of the Wanderer hive mind, please, please message me on Discord. Because if I talk
please
about
read Disgranola's blog.
yeah, if I talk about it on the stream, I'm afraid I will never shut up.
Well, I mean, frankly, this has been really interesting for everyone in chat, I think, because we just kind of have like a screensaver going on in the background of
Yeah, yeah.
playing a video
Don't mind
game.
me, I'm just here.
Okay, Nick, goat update.
Go update. The one goat that was remaining has
Okay.
survived.
You have
Thank
been
you.
half approved, semi-approved.
He managed to Metal Gear survive.
Yeah. But sadly, you cannot pet the goat.
You cannot pet the goat. You can punch
You can-
the goat, kick the goat,
You can punch the goat,
punch the goat.
but
You can punch
cannot.
the goat and Metal Gear survive.
There we go.
It's actually the easiest way to capture them. You just sucker punch them out cold and then you fault and recovery them back to base camp.
We have a couple of cutscenes here to get through.
Did you eat?
Oh, I did. Yeah, sort of.
I forgot about the game mechanics. I thought you were talking about real life for a second.
You only ate one thing. Why do you only eat one thing?
I ate the other one earlier. I've also run out of
Okay.
food, and I'm not quite sure how.
Your food started going rotten. I
So-
think it is worth listening to Robin talk about this game because this game needs someone as passionate as Robin is about this game. So,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, I listen. I am survive pilled. Not quite to the extent of you are, but in a certain way, I really am, given the discrepancy in our hours played.
Yeah.
So yeah, all this intrigue comes to a head right then and there.
And
That's
now
why we
for
explained it now.
the one direct boss fight in the story.
And it's super lame in the speed run. Not as lame in New Game, it's actually kind of scary, but New Game Plus, we're going to be using the shotgun. We haven't used the shotgun at all. That's because we need to get another slot for having that weapon. You should have your shotgun pre-equipped.
I really should have it equipped. Also,
That's
haven't got
okay.
the. I also haven't got the overpressure rounds for it. The overpressure rounds are like really powerful rounds. They do like 200% damage, but they also degrade your weapon a lot quicker. But for some reason, my loadout just did not work properly at all. The loadout system on this is a little bit buggy. So I'll just have to kill Seth with normal shotgun rounds. I deliberately
Again,
over-leveled
like-
as well.
Yeah, again, it wouldn't be a Metal Gear Survive run without some jank.
Yeah, we want to either hit Seth in the face or in the back.
Ow.
I am
Oh shit.
screwing this up something fierce. There we go.
All right, we're good.
There we go.
Still relatively fast. Ideally what happens in that fight, you take him out in like 2 seconds.
yeah.
You just shotgun him like 3 times and he's down. The cool thing about that fight is you fight in your base and he can destroy stuff too, and you can use like the transporter as like a, or Virgil as like a wall to guard yourself.
If during that boss fight, if he can't target you, he will just target random things at your base and try to blow them up. It's very annoying.
Right, so that is the boss fight of the single player. There are bosses that you can fight in the multiplayer. That is another complaint I have about this game. You know, Metal Gear is known for its boss fights, and there is exactly one boss fight in the story, and it is very impactful to the story, but there's just the one. Anyways, I'll save my complaints. We are doing Ruins 3. We're going to be climbing this rock face here. So, oh, what about those iron watchtowers? Okay, you got those. That's good.
I have.
Okay. You were saying earlier, like, there was a thing about the watchtowers. I was like, I hope he brings them. So yeah, it's a little bit faster to use a watchtower here compared to the crack, but you have to place the watchtower in a very specific place to make sure you don't like the platform actually connects. This run here to Ruins 3 is pretty treacherous because you're in this spooky forest and there's grabbers that you have to avoid. I am paying very close attention to Nick's line that he doesn't get lost because he tends to get a little bit lost here.
I do tend to get a little bit lost here. I think I'm okay. Yeah, I'm good.
Would you mind if I just quickly answered a question in a chat?
Go.
So to answer the question about being able to backstab Seth, the answer is yes and no. If you try to backstab him, he'll do the same thing that the mortar does when you try to backstab it when it's alerted. He'll just he'll shake you off and you won't do any damage. But it's still useful to do when you're playing casually at least, because he has an attack where he'll charge up, or he can send grenades flying all over your base. But if you backstab him while he's charging that up, he'll cancel the attack.
So if you've played Phantom Pain, this house will look pretty familiar to you. This is where you meet Code Talker. If you've never played Phantom Pain, you're probably like, who's Code Talker? I am not explaining that, but we're using do not worry about it. But we have an iron watchtower. We bring that so we can climb up very conveniently onto that platform. That's a nice skip of this area. Even on New Game, we can skip a nice chunk of this area with sandbag foothold, which is cool. It's cool that, you know, we still do skips in New Game. We actually do like all like the navigation skips in New Game, basically. Other than that Iron Watchtower one that Nick did at the start of this chapter, because that is really expensive to build. Takes a lot of resources to build, but very good. We got Ruins 3 out of the way. And now that we did Ruins 3, we are trying to research a way to destroy the Lord of Dust, or hold it in place, specifically, so we can use the big beam from Sally. And the way we're going to do that is go to the mine and do something we have done many times before that we love so much, do a defense. But hey, good news, folks. We are going into the final bits of the plot. When things get really, really wild. If you thought the previous thing was wild about the whole, like, hive mind nanomachine thing, hold on to your hats. So
we will be, like, not seeing some of that due to the fact that we're doing the bad ending, of course.
Yeah, but hey, I know a fair bit of the audience probably will never bother playing this game, for good or ill. So it's probably worth explaining for all you wonderful people out there that are watching this run. This is like the run part of this chapter. It's just making sure we don't cross wanderers that are in the water, making sure that we regain our stamina at the right time by going into walk mode, all that fun stuff. There are mortars in this area, which are pretty annoying. So it's a good idea to make sure they don't interrupt us. This whole area is super annoying to defend. This is, in my opinion, the hardest, like, defense map in co-op, because you are defending the bottom of a bowl. And as we all know from Star Wars, it's always superior to have the high ground. So, so that being said, there is a revelation that you all must know. And that kid we rescued earlier, Chris, is not just some ordinary kid. He's actually very smart, which we learned on base. Very, very smart. In fact, he is the young version of Good Luck. Good Luck and Chris are the exact same character. Chris is a young Good Luck. But you may ask, how and why? And what?
Those are very good questions.
You're like, but I thought Good Luck was helping us at the start of the game, and he was talking to us. So, Discranola, as the resident Survive scholar, what exactly is going on here?
Okay, so first off, I just want to say when you said there was going to be a big revelation, I nearly interrupted to ask what revelation, because this is just that kind of game. So basically, right before we go to fight the Lord of Dust, everyone's like, no matter what happens, we can't keep Chris here. He's like 9 years old. We can't keep him in a place like this. We're gonna generate a wormhole and send him back to Earth. And he's like, I promise I'll come back for you. I'll get you out of here eventually. And
everyone's like, okay, sure. Good luck with that.
And then just before the final battle, you get a recording from Good Luck, because spoilers, he's dead at this point. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I spent 30 years trying to figure out how to do so. By the way, I'm Chris, and I've been trying to get you out of DT the entire time by climbing up the ranks of this organization that investigates DT and the Wanderers.
And that's called the Wardenclyffe section?
Wardenclyffe? Clive? I don't know. I say it as Wardenclyffe.
Named after the Wardenclyffe or Wardenclyffe Tower from Nikola Tesla. Fun fact. Fun fact.
There is actually a cutscene at the very start of this game that shows a map of incidents where Wanderers have appeared. And because of that map, we know in the Metal Gear universe that Tesla has seen a Wanderer and knows what Wanderers are.
You know, it's just Metal Gear Survive things.
Yeah.
Now, I think one of the cooler, like, cryptid, like Bigfoot and stuff like that connections with Metal Gear Survive is that Good Luck, I'm trying to remember what exactly it is, but there's this boat that people said, like, back in the 40s or 60s that, like, went invisible or disappeared. Yes,
I can't remember the name of the boat, but he showed up. Okay, basically, starting from the start, I suppose, when you send Chris through the wormhole, he appeared on a wormhole above the Philadelphia experiment.
Yes,
which is real in the Metal Gear universe. And basically, 1, the Philadelphia experiment was real. 2, a little kid appeared out of the sky above it.
That's what it was, the Philadelphia experiment. Yeah. Alleged event claimed to have been witnessed by a mariner. That
didn't say anything about a boy falling from the sky, though.
Yes, the USS Eldridge.
Yep, that's it. He
Yeah,
actually,
so-
Good Luck mentions it at the very start of the game.
Yeah, so if this game couldn't get weirder, it starts bringing in basically like paranormal, like UFO kind of stuff into the Metal Gear universe. Like the Philadelphia experiment was real, and
Yeah.
Chris was involved in it
Yeah.
because he went through a wormhole in the future, back to the past, and then, you know, basically closed the time loop that led to the events of this game.
Okay, now imagine you're like the US military or whatever, and you're trying to do an experiment on this boat, and everything's going normally, and then a wormhole opens and a boy falls through it.
It's scary.
And that's what we call good luck. Honestly, that's pretty good luck.
Yeah.
I honestly think that is probably the most wild part of the whole story, more than the nanomachine hive mind stuff, because that is just like an escalation of MGS4 and Rising. It makes sense, right? But the whole Chris traveling through time and fulfilling the time loop is pretty wild.
It's funny, at least.
It certainly is funny, and the Philadelphia experiment connection is great.
There is one thing about it that, I don't know, I'm probably the only one who cares about it, because I'm the guy who likes the story, nearly all the story and stuff. Basically from the start of the game, they establish that Reeve hates good luck. Like, one of the first things he says is basically, when I get back to Earth, I'm going to kill you. And then when Chris shows up, Reeve's like, oh, I need to protect this kid, he doesn't deserve any of this. And I wish they did more with that, because at the very end, when Good Luck reveals he's Chris, you can hear Reeve be like, oh no.
It is some juicy, dramatic irony in the story. I completely forgot about that, but that's a very satisfying thing in the story. Again, like, people don't really give this game a chance because the start of the game is pretty hard if you don't know what you're doing. But if you stick with it, it is bizarre and entertaining.
It is Metal Gear.
It is very Metal Gear, and yes, Kojima didn't really have much to do with this game, besides there was a concept for a game like this being developed. But even so, like, it still has the Metal Gear storytelling, even though it is more paranormal and time travel. There wasn't really time travel in the other games, other than you created a time paradox, but that's just like a meme.
Well, there are the non-canon missions for Ground Zeroes where Raiden travels to the past to kill a bunch of body snatchers.
That's true. There is the pseudo historical VR stuff kind of thing going on.
And what's it called again? The secret theater for Metal Gear Solid 3, where Raiden goes back in time to kill Big Boss so he can be the protagonist of 4.
Well done, Raiden.
Talking of Ground Zeroes, I'm gonna do a really cheeky little plug.
You should plug.
I should plug. Ground Zeroes is one of the other games that I run. I run quite a few games in the Metal Gear series, but Ground Zeroes is probably one of the main ones. Actually, for the first time, I have Ground Zeroes on backup for AGDQ 2023. It's the first time I've ever gotten anywhere near getting into AGDQ. One of our fellow runners, Joseph Joestar, has Ground Zeroes in AGDQ, so I'm pretty much backup in case Joe Cart for some reason has to pull out, which I hope doesn't happen, because Joe's run is fantastic. We do 2 different runs. I do New Game Plus and he does Stealth No Kills, which is just insane to watch. So I'm hoping he doesn't have to pull out, even though if he did, it meant I'd actually get to run. Yeah. That was what I was going to say about Ground Zeroes.
Good luck to Joe, or you know, if he pulls out. Either way.
I guess while we're on that topic, it's worthwhile mentioning that there's a lot of, like, quality of life improvements in terms of like controls and stuff compared to like say Ground Zeroes to this game. Like this is the best playing of the Fox Engine Metal Gear Solid 5 games, and I really do not think that's up for debate. Personally, they made some adjustments that made things more functional, which is one of the things that makes this game pretty fun.
I know when I go back to playing Phantom Pain and Ground Zeroes casually,
it feels so weird.
I'm gonna have
feels
so much
really weird.
trouble.
Yeah.
Especially with how you throw the grenades.
Yeah. Oh my word. I really don't like that. They made grenade throwing and all that a lot easier in this game, but whatever. Is what it is. So we have another 90 seconds, and after that 90 seconds, all we have to do is build the Archaea Blade Trap so that we can hold the Lord of Dust. And we're supposed to, take out the Lord of Dust, but we are going to be selfish and head back home. And the connecting point to this game with Phantom Pain is that in Phantom Pain, there are these side ops, these side missions where you have to like go rescue like a wandering soldier who's like lost in the desert or whatever, and the captain becomes one of those soldiers that Venom Snake saves. So that's like one of the connecting points between this and Phantom Pain.
I do have one thing to say about that. I've seen a few people online say, isn't it kind of suspicious that Konami made it that the bad ending connects to the Phantom Pain? And I get what they're saying, I really do. But also that is the ending where you leave all your friends to die. So...
Yes. In the good ending, you are stuck in Dite, but you literally save the world from becoming this. So, ups and downs.
Should we explain the good ending, since we're not going to see any of it?
We can explain it very quickly.
I could try to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You run the
basically...
explanation.
I should say for the purposes of the timer, there's going to be a really long me selecting something with like a wormhole above me. As soon as the counter has reached the full and we sort of fade into a cutscene, that is the end of the game, and that's time.
Okay, so basically we're going to set up everything so we can use the railgun from Sahelanthropus to pierce the shell of the Lord of Dust, destroying the Lord of Dust, stopping the time loop, stopping people from turning into zombies. Good. The thing is, after you do another auto-scroller, you shoot the Lord of Dust with the railgun and it does absolutely nothing. So you're like, hey, what's going on here? So you talk to Virgil, who is connected to the dust, for reasons I forgot to explain. Basically, Seth infected Virgil, and that's all you need to know. And Virgil's like, hey, we can't kill the Lord of Dust because the Lord of Dust doesn't understand what death is because it's not organic.
It does not understand the concept of death.
Yes, basically, so you can't kill it. So Virgil says, I will launch myself into the Lord of Dust. I will teach it what death is. And, Dan's like...
3, 2,
Oh, sorry.
1, time.
There's time.
GG.
Sorry. I didn't explain it in time.
It's okay. But yes, so Virgil launches itself into the Lord of Dust, teaches the Lord of Dust the concept of death.
And then you kill the Lord of Dust.
And then you can kill the Lord of Dust.
And if you're wondering, hey, isn't Virgil also in an inorganic machine, which is actually what Dan says, Virgil's like, oh, well, I've spent my time alongside humans, so I think I understand it better than them.
All right, now explain all of that backwards.
Oh my gosh, please. We would need another hour.
Explain all of it in chronological order.
we were jumping around, but you know, we hit the greatest hits. There's even more
Yeah.
to it, but
It
Again,
seems like
if
a complicated
anyone
game.
does, yeah, again, if anyone does have questions, I am extremely open to talking about it on Discord.
All right. Any last shout outs you want to do?
I can say that this was a 1 minute PB for me.
Hey,
Oh.
congrats!
which is pretty good. There's still a lot of mistakes in the run though. Only little minor things like when to get equipment and stuff like that. So there could still be improvement on this. Plywood is the world record holder of this category. In fact, I think most categories. There's not that many categories.
yeah, it's like the new game stuff that I don't have the records in. One Cool Man has the records in the new game categories.
The only thing left from me is if you've liked this, if you like other games in the Metal Gear series, so come check me out on Twitch. But also join the Metal Gear Speedrunners community. We're on Discord. Just go to Google, type in Metal Gear Speedrunners. It'll come up with our website. We've got people who will literally run any game in the Metal Gear series. Like usually when I'm doing another marathon, I'm like, we'll teach you any game, even Survive. And yes, as you can see, we do run Survive as well. So yeah, if you like Metal Gear, you're interested in Metal Gear speedrunning, come check us out. It's a fantastic community. We've actually got a relay next weekend on our Twitch channel. So check that out as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the run, and to Plywood and Robin for the commentary. We do so appreciate it. This was a lot of fun to watch, and Metal Gear is always such a good crowd pleaser. Even the maybe not wonderful games in the series still are just so entertaining to watch. So thank you for doing the run and for showing this to us. Coming up next, we have got. I don't want to give you the wrong information on the schedule here. I believe this is pronounced Maquette from Hippienator, doing an 80% run. And then we've got Osmorn coming up after that with Goosebumps Dead of Night. So be sure to stay tuned for those. This is sadly my last shift here at the hosting desk for Horrible Games 2022. But I'll be back tomorrow for another run, so just you wait. I will be back. We've still got another about 25 hours of the marathon left, and we've got some awesome runs still coming up for tomorrow, so be sure to stick around for those. We still have plenty of stuff left for you to donate toward for the incentives for choosing endings for stuff and all the other stuff that we have. So please get your donations in.
I did there. Eddie will either run to the side or he will run straight at you and you can't go past him. We got the part where he runs straight at you. So I'm just going to do this normally how you would in any other run. So... yeah, so we're just going to make it back to